You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Shanafelt. Welcome back On Air with Chris Shanafelt as we continue our Player Spotlight series with the 2020 NFL Draft Class. And we've got our first specialist of the year dialing into the show. It's a pleasure to welcome onto the show Chase Vinatieri, kicker out of South Dakota State University. Chase, I appreciate you taking the time to chat. How's everything going?
Everything's going good. I appreciate you giving me the call, and I look forward to it.
Absolutely. The pleasure's mine. So to start things off, I just want to talk about your journey to South Dakota State. I know that you excelled at both kicker as well as wide receiver coming out of high school. How did the kicker position become permanent, and do you ever miss catching passes?
Yeah, so coming out of high school, I was an all-state wide receiver and a kicker as well. But going into college, South Dakota State gave me the opportunity to come in as a freshman and do both. And so I did that and had a lot of fun doing that. But it all came down to I redshirted, and so that was why I was able to do both. Going into my redshirt freshman year, the senior kicker had left, so the kicking position was open, and I decided that if I wanted to pursue, anything in the future in the NFL or anything like that, it would be through kicking. And so I gave up my wide receiver duties and just pursued being the kicker.
And I know there's a lot of depth at wide receiver as well, obviously highlighted by Jake Weineke, who holds all types of records there at SDSU. Your sophomore year, Chase, against Montana State, the Jackrabbits were up by 3 points, under 5 minutes left in the game, and you guys lined up for a field goal. Instead, the holder pitches you the football. You took it about 40 yards to the house, and SDSU would end up winning that game. Is it safe to say that's your most memorable play that you've made over the years, or is there a certain field goal that trumps that play itself?
I just give credit to, my teammates and my coaches for allowing me to execute that play. That atmosphere up there was unbelievable, and that game was one that I will never forget. That play is definitely one of the top plays that I will remember. I think another one for me is the game-winning field goal against Illinois State in overtime. Yeah, man, anytime you get an opportunity to touch the football and, score a touchdown and whatnot, it's just, there's nothing like it. So I had a blast scoring that touchdown and celebrating with my teammates and everything like that. So, yeah, that's definitely a memory I'll never forget.
And I'm sure the coaching staff, I'm sure yourself, I think the play was 4th and 5. Again, under 5 minutes left. You guys had a 3-point lead. I'm sure you would have just been happy with a first down. I mean, how wide open did your eyes get when you seen the open field ahead of you and a couple blockers to the side of you making some key blocks on that play? I mean, what was the last thing on your mind, going 40 yards or so for a touchdown?
Absolutely not. When we were rehearsing that play throughout the week, I was like, I'm taking this to the house. There's no reason why I couldn't. And, I'll get the first down for sure. But, if it's open, I'm going to take it for a touchdown. And so, I was lucky and fortunate enough that I had some really good blocking on the outside, and I ended up just cutting it back up and scoring the touchdown. So I knew right when that play was called. It was called perfectly. It was executed perfectly, and so I was like, I'm gonna score a touchdown here.
And that exactly you did. How difficult is it playing in the Midwest, though, Chase? I mean, especially at the kicker position at SDSU, you're not playing in a dome like some nearby schools are. I mean, the weather could get pretty nasty late in the fall, into the winter. I mean, how in tune are you with the Weather Channel? I mean, is a meteorologist a kicker and a punter's best friend come game day?
Yeah, it is tough playing at South Dakota State with the weather. I've played in a ton of games where it's super windy or snowy and cold and stuff like that. As a specialist, I love the indoor games when we have perfect conditions every time we go out there and kick. But I also think for the team-wise, it helps us every once in a while when teams come in and have to play us in the cold and in the snow and stuff like that. But I definitely do check the weather a lot. Every time we go out for practice and every time we have a game, I always like to check the weather to see if it's on my side for the day or not. And a lot of the times, it was cold and windy. So I think that also just it helps me, moving forward in the future. Pursuing the NFL and stuff like that, being able to tell teams and show teams that I could excel in these types of conditions because there's still NFL teams out there with outdoor stadiums that they play in the cold and in the wind and in the snow. So.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps out in your favor, seeing as you kicked outside at SDSU, and you actually passed up an opportunity to kick inside the Fargo Dome coming out of high school. I believe North Dakota State was the school that offered you. Did you take any of that into consideration? I mean, was that a part that you looked into at all when you decided that you were going to play outside at South Dakota State as opposed to inside at North Dakota State? I'm sure there's much more than just that being a deciding factor, but did that play into it at all?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life, but I don't regret anything of it. I loved playing in the Fargo Dome. The atmosphere was incredible. Perfect conditions and all that stuff, even as a Jackrabbit and on the opposing side. But there's a bunch of other stuff that played into the factor of me going to South Dakota State. It's only 45 minutes away from home, so it gave my parents the opportunity to come and watch every single home game, which I'm very fortunate and blessed that they did. And, like I said, SDSU gave me the opportunity to come in and exercise the wide receiver position as well as kickers. So that was another reason as to why, I chose South Dakota State and also the coaching staff. I just felt like it was family. They treated me as family right out of the gates. And so, the rest is history from there. And, like I said, I wouldn't take anything back.
How special is it to be a part of that North Dakota State, South Dakota State rivalry, Chase? And what was it like this past season having College Game Day come to Brookings, South Dakota? I'm sure that just amped up the magnitude of the game a little bit more. Not that it needed to be. How fun was it to be a part of that rivalry over the years?
College Game Day this year was absolutely incredible. It's one of those things, like I said, I probably will never forget. We had the amazing opportunity of them coming to Brookings and getting to showcase our community and our fan base in our stadium, and how good we are as an FCS program, playing against the best FCS program there is out there in North Dakota State. They'll always be good. We'll always be good. As a rivalry, it's two of the top teams in the FCS, in my opinion, and we got some good young players coming through, and I'm excited to see how well they do in the upcoming future here. And that rivalry will always continue on, and we'll hope that the Jacks come on top here pretty soon.
We're chatting with 2020 NFL Draft prospect, kicker out of South Dakota State University, Chase Vinatieri. And Chase, your career long at SDSU is a 57-yard field goal. That was back in 2018. Can you just take us through that kick, what it meant to you to have the confidence of your coaches, to have you go out and attempt a field goal from that far of distance?
Yeah, so that kick was at Northern Iowa in a dome. That game was very tough offensively, so I had a lot of opportunities to go out there on the field and showcase what I have and help the team, put points on the board and help the team win that game. And unfortunately, we didn't, and it was a tough one, but just the coaching staff, having the heart and belief of me being able to go out there and make kicks is huge. So, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, SDSU doesn't have a specific coach that handles special teams. They don't have a special teams coordinator. Is that correct, Chase? Who would you report to as you would try to better your game, work on things that you need to work on day after day, week after week?
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the hardest parts of my college career, was not really having quite a kicking coach with me throughout my time at SDSU. We would always report to the head coach, was actually kind of the quote-unquote special teams kicking coach. And, so it was tough when you were in slumps and needed someone to, watch you and fix your craft and that sort of stuff. So I kind of resorted myself in watching old film, and even just, having the ability and just being very fortunate enough to call up my uncle and, see if he could watch some of the game film and let me know kind of what I'm doing wrong and what to fix and that sort of stuff. And a lot of it, being a specialist and a kicker, it's a lot of mental games. So as much as you want to kick a million balls, you can't. So you got to use your mental game and your mental side to, I guess, better yourself in that aspect as well.
Chase, you mentioned your uncle, and we'll let the cat out of the bag, obviously, with a unique last name such as Vinatieri and the fact that you are a kicker yourself. I'm sure it didn't take the listeners too long to connect the dots. You're the nephew of future Pro Football Hall of Famer and four-time Super Bowl winning champion kicker Adam Vinatieri. It's certainly a question I'm sure you've answered hundreds of times, but is there any added pressure when you step onto the field knowing that the success that your uncle has had not only at the NFL level but at SDSU as well?
Yeah, I'm kind of just starting out to kind of really realize how much he's helped people and how people look up to him as kind of, a role model and, a future Hall of Famer and, in my eyes, the greatest of all time. So definitely the last name is going to put pressure on me and all that sort of stuff. But that's one thing, like I said, with it being a mental game, you got to put that stuff to the side. He's his own player, and I'm my own player. We're completely two different people. Lucky enough to be family and have the same last name, and he's been very fortunate and grateful with his 20-plus career in the NFL, and I'm looking to pursue a career in the NFL and stuff like that. So, like I said, very blessed and fortunate. But definitely there's a little bit of pressure here and there every once in a while.
It's pretty crazy to think that he's been in the NFL kicking since you've been alive, if not even longer. Obviously, again, a great career, and as you said, the greatest kicker of all time. A few more questions for 2020 NFL Draft prospect kicker out of South Dakota State University, Chase Vinatieri. And Chase, the last couple of months now, you've been preparing for what will be your NFL interview, I guess you could say, and that would be the Pro Day at South Dakota State. I believe it's March 27th. What exactly have the last few months consisted of for you? Where exactly are you training at? Do you have a kicking coach now as you prepare for that Pro Day?
Yeah, so following the season, I was really looking forward to pursuing my dream in the NFL and wanting to get better as a kicker. So I kind of reached out and I found an amazing coach in Coach Mike McCabe in one-on-one kicking. So I'm down here in Birmingham, Alabama I've been here since January, and I've been here for a couple months now, and will be here up until my Pro Day. And I'm just down here with a bunch of pros and some in the NFL, a couple in CFL and stuff like that. So I've been around some really good guys, some guys that have been helping me out and perfecting my craft and helping me out. So, like I said, I've been very fortunate, and I've had a good time down here, and continue to hopefully gain on my abilities and be able to showcase what I got come my Pro Day on March 27th.
And as we mentioned earlier, during your collegiate career, you didn't really have a special teams coach or a kicking coach. Now being around some professional kickers and Coach McCabe as well, have you learned new things about the kicking position that you haven't known or that you didn't know in the past? Or are you learning new ways to improve your game? I mean, how's that process going?
Yeah, I came down here and I've learned a lot just in switching some little things in my technique-wise and being able to use, more of my leg and my body and my power to get through the ball and that sort of stuff. So I'm very thankful that Coach McKay has been helping me in improving my ability in my craft and just tweaking little technique-wise stuff that will hopefully help me in the future here and hopefully get me into the NFL.
I'll be flat out honest with you. I'm not sure if I recall any, kickers or punters or specialists doing too many events. I know they'll do the bench press here and there, but are you going to be doing any of those events that we see at like the NFL Combine, the 40-yard dash, the vertical, the broad jump, any of that, or is all of your focus on the on-field workouts?
Yeah, that's still kind of undecided right now. I like to think of myself as, a little more of an athletic kicker, being able to, do those sort of things. But the way the pro day is set up, I think a lot of that stuff is done before the on-field workouts. And so I think the closer I get to the pro day, I'll probably decide more if I'm going to do any of those testings. But I know a lot of kickers don't do it, and it's a lot of the teams. They might look at it, but it might not really faze them or excite them in any way. So if I don't do it, it's nothing too bad. And if I do, maybe I can catch some of the eyes of the NFL guys, and we'll see kind of how it all plays out, I guess.
And I know NFL scouts have been in and out of Brookings, South Dakota over the years. You guys obviously have had guys go on and play in the NFL. Have you been able to have any conversations with any NFL scouts over the years, Chase? I mean, any idea how they might be viewing you as a pro prospect? I know that you've kind of been on the radar now for a couple of years. And then again, knowing the hotbed of talent that South Dakota State has produced over the years, I know NFL teams have been in and out of there. Have you had any conversations with any NFL teams?
No, personally, I have not. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what all plays out after Pro Day, and I'm excited for that.
And final question before we let you go. Let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're listening to this very interview. Why should they want the kicker out of South Dakota State University, Chase Vinatieri, a part of their team?
Because I'm a hardworking guy that will do anything for the team. I just want to be there for the teammates. I want to be there to help the team out in any way that I can, and just show teams that I have the talent and the ability to be a part of their program and win football games for them.
All right, Chase, congrats on all the success, man. It's been a lot of fun watching you and the Jackrabbits over the past 4 years. Really looking forward to seeing how this March 27th Pro Day goes for yourself as well as your teammates, and certainly wishing you all the best as we are 49 days away from the start of the 2020 NFL Draft.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that.